Welcome back, data lovers, to another exciting tutorial. We will continue where we left off in our previous video, where we extracted the email body to an Excel file. Let me open up the email. So this is the data right here we are interested in, which we already extracted. So let me pull up the Excel file. So the file you see is the final resultant file from our previous video. Link to the video should be available somewhere on the screen right about now. Our plan for today is to clean this raw data into a proper data set. We will use Power Query for this task by splitting data using new line character and then working through dynamically renaming the columns as well. Let me convert this to a table format and let the Power Query magic begin. You might think this is in the same line, but this is actually in multiple lines. So if I do Alt HW, you can see the data is in multiple lines. If we undo this, it will come back to one line. So let's start working on it. From the data tab, click on from table / range. This opens up the Power Query editor. There are multiple ways to open Power Query editor. Let's go back, and you can also click on get data from Excel workbook, or if you just want to launch the Power Query editor, you can click on launch Power Query editor without loading any file. So let's click on from table / range. This will automatically load in the table. Let's rename it and give it a good name. Let's call it split column. Rename the query. For our first step, let's duplicate our description column so we can refer to this original column later on. Click on the column, right click on it, click on duplicate column. Let's rename it. We can call it description reference. You can rename it by directly double clicking on it, or you can also do it through the M-code formula bar. For our next step, we need to figure out a way to split the data in description by new line character. As you can see, the data we have is in multiple lines. So we need to figure out a way to divide these into multiple columns using the new line character. So we click on description column. We go to home tab if not already. Click on split column by delimiter. Click on advanced options. And here says select on enter delimiter, we will say custom. Split at will remain at each occurrence of delimiter because we want to split as many times as possible. Split will be into columns, which is fine. And here we will check the radio button next to split using special characters, and here we will select line feed. And you can see the box automatically fills it with a pound sign and an if in parentheses. Right, let's click on OK, and boom, our columns have been split into multiple columns by line space. I'm just gonna remove this step that says change type 1. We don't really need it. Looking at the formula bar, let me expand this a bit. So you can expand or collapse using these arrows here. One thing we can immediately notice is that it has hard-coded the columns to split, which means that if in future the columns change, this will either crash or not pick up all the columns. And I'm not really a big fan of hard-coding columns. So let's duplicate our query and approach this in another way. So we are gonna just leave it here for reference. Right click on the original query, click on duplicate. So let's rename this. Let's call it custom, split column custom. We will step into the formula bar to do some more magic, as not everything can be done via ribbons. If you really want to step up your Power Query game, you should learn to read and modify M code to some extent. So we will use the structure provided by the Power Query and modify it a bit to our use. So let's start by removing the last list, which is right here. So M code has basically three main data structures to store values. So we have a list, we have a record data type as well, and the third one we have is a table format. The list bracket goes in curly brackets, like the one we have right here. So let's say if we just move this and add this to a new query. So right click here, new query, blank, other sources, blank query. And here we just add this here, click on OK. And you can see we have a list of columns. Now let's add a record. Right click, new query, other sources, blank query. And you can see we have a record data type. So let's rename it. So let's call it record. Let's create our last data type, which is a table format. Right click, new query, other sources, blank query, and any table begins with pound sign and a table. So let's add some data in it. Click on done, and you can see we have our table. Let's rename it as well, and let's move back to our main query. So let's remove this here, and let's just make it blank. Okay, since we don't know how many columns we could have, we will keep some margin and add some extra columns. To be on safe side, let's use 15 columns. We can use list structure to generate a list of columns. Let's create a blank query to demonstrate how to use it. We already have our list query here, so I'm just gonna remove this. So we already know that the list can be generated through curly brackets. So if you want a list of items or multiple items, you can use this syntax here, and this will give you 1 through 15. Now let's enclose this with list.transform and then combine with each of the values. So let's enclose this. Let's call it list.transform, open round parentheses. So the first value it accepts is a list, so we give in the list, and then we use transform as function. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to come up with something like column 1, column 2, column 3. So we need to add each here, and then we concatenate a specific value. So let's call it column, and we have to concatenate this with the active value of the row. So we use text from, and then we use an underscore to get the active value of the row. We close this, and voila. You can see we have column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically this generates the values from 1 through 15. And then we concatenate each value with column, and each value that is stored is accessed by this underscore from here. So let's copy and paste this back to our main query. So we're gonna remove this and we will add this here. Click on done, and boom, we have 15 new columns created in addition to our existing column, which was type and description reference. You might notice that some of the columns might be null. So let's see, column 13 has a blank, column 14 and 15. These are just dummy columns for extra records for some margin in case this data expands in future or some new columns have been added. Next step is to dynamically rename our column names. This is a tricky part for which I took help from this webpage called wmfexcel.com. Link to the solution in description for further reading. So let's create a new query by using table function. Table accepts column names as a list and then rows as a list of lists. Since our column names data is static and will not change because we hard-coded the columns 1 through 15, we can just do it inside of Power Query, which is a bit of manual work for one time. You can also create an Excel table and simply import it depending on your preference, although it might cause issues if source table is removed in future. So I would prefer to create the table inside of Power Query so we don't have anything dependent on outside data. We can create the table. I already have the table data with me, so I'm just going to copy and paste it here to save some time. Okay, so this is the table we have. Let me format this a bit. Okay, so table accepts column names as first two values. So this is the column names, and then these are the values of the rows. So this is the old column name, this is the new column name. Column 1 will go to blank. So this is basically a kind of mapping if you use Python or other programming languages. Click on done, and this creates our table within Power Query. Once we have this table, let's add this inside of our main query. So here, click on Advanced Editor. So we add the new table here. Go to the extreme right. We will need to add a comma here because the comma is only missing in the last step. So since this is not our last step anymore, we need to add the comma here. Let's add our step here. Remove this comma. And what this will do is this will generate a table inside of it. Click on done. And it seems like we have an issue. So let's go back to Advanced Editor. You can see our steps have disappeared as well. Let me fix the formatting a bit. So basically what's happening is that the last step that is being referred is change type 1, which in fact it should be the last step that is inside of the Power Query. So let's add it custom 2. Keep in mind that some of the steps have a pound sign and double quotes with it and some don't. This is because if there is a space inside of your column name, then Power Query automatically adds a pound sign and a double quotes with it. Since double quote is already reserved for text format, they added a pound sign before it as well to differentiate between column names and text columns. Click on done, and you can see we have our table. Keep in mind that the previous steps are there as well. So this is just a separate step added in here. Let's call it columns translation. I'm just gonna change and fix the column names a bit so we don't see the ugly pound sign. I'm just gonna remove the spaces quickly, and once done, let's go back to Advanced Editor, and we can see that this looks much cleaner now without the ugly pound signs. We only see the pound sign before the table because that is the format to create a table. Click on done. So what we need to do right now is we need to merge these two columns by using a comma. I will explain the logic for it later. So let's select the two columns, click on transform, merge columns, and separator. We will use comma. Okay, we have our merged column names. Okay, so once we have the merged column names, let's add a new column. So add column, custom column. We will use this function to create a custom column. And what it does is it converts these two values into a list, which is what we need for rename function. Click on the custom column and click on drill down, and this creates our desired list. So you can see the values we have are in the list format. So this is the old column name, this is the new column name. So let's rename the step. Let's call it new column names. Alright, so we can use syntax for renaming a column from one of our above steps. This is the syntax, so let's add it here and we will just modify it. Let's add a new step, and so the columns we want to rename are available in custom 1 because from the custom 1 step onward we added extra steps. So our last updated data is available in custom 1 step right here, and after that we added other steps. So in this step we will rename data from custom one, and the new column names are available in new column names, which are in this list format. And voila, you can see our new column names are available here. So we have trans type here, trans id, date time, which were different before. So column 1 2 3 4 5, and we have successfully renamed our columns. So let's click on close and load. This will load in a bunch of queries. We don't really need all of them. So our main query is split column custom, and you can see it has successfully split the columns. We have 3 empty columns. This is fine. We will keep these just for now. This is the original line here which we split, and this is our splitted data. For our next video, we will figure out a way to remove these values from within these cells. So let's say transaction ID, we just want the transaction number in it. Same for date and time, we just want the date and time. So let's say we want something similar to this, something like this, and clean up the data a bit as well. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, consider liking and subscribing, and let me know if you want to see more content like this. Have a great rest of the day.